The stars looked different that morning when Captain Jake Harrison woke up in his tent high in the Colorado mountains. He had been training with his Green Beret unit for 3 weeks now, running drills that pushed human limits in the cold mountain air. The sun was just coming up over the peaks when every electronic device in their camp started making noise at the same time. Jake grabbed his radio. As it crackled with strange sounds, his phone was beeping. Even the simple GPS units were going crazy. Then came the voice that would change everything. It spoke in perfect English, but with a tone that made his skin crawl. People of Earth, we are the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 17 star systems across this galaxy. Your world is now under our control. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. If you do not give up, we will destroy your cities and kill your people. This is your only warning. The message played 3 times, then stopped. Jake looked around at his men. Sergeant Amy Rodriguez was staring at her phone like it had grown teeth. Corporal Ben Carter was checking his rifle as if aliens might appear any second. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Sir, did that really just happen? Rodriguez asked. Jake nodded slowly. He had trained for many things in his military career, fighting in deserts, jungles, and cities, rescuing hostages and stopping terrorists. But aliens demanding Earth's surrender was not in any manual he had ever read. Within an hour, orders came through military channels. All Special Forces units were to report to their commanders immediately. The message was real. Satellites had detected massive ships moving toward Earth from deep space. The ships were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Jake's unit packed up their gear and headed down the mountain. As they drove toward the base, they could see people in the small towns looking up at the sky. Some were crying. Others were loading their cars and driving away. Everyone knew that life had just changed forever. At the base, General Lisa Park stood before hundreds of the best soldiers America had. Her face was serious but calm. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a drill. We have confirmed that alien ships are approaching Earth. They want us to surrender in 3 days. That is not going to happen. She pointed to a large screen showing images from space telescopes. The alien ships looked like huge metal insects with glowing parts. There were dozens of them, each one the size of a city. These Zephyrians have weapons we do not understand. Their ships have shields that can stop our missiles. But they made one big mistake. They think we will fight them the way other species did. They expect us to line up our armies and shoot at each other in open battles. They do not know how humans really fight when our backs are against the wall. Jake felt his heart beating faster. He had read about every war in human history. He knew that the best victories often came from doing what the enemy did not expect. General Park continued talking. Every Special Forces unit on Earth is working together now. Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Delta Force, Green Berets, and teams from other countries. We have 3 days to get ready. We are not going to surrender. We are not going to run away. We are going to teach these aliens something they have never learned before. The next 3 days passed like a blur. Jake's team worked with scientists and engineers to study everything they could about the alien ships. The ships used energy weapons that could melt steel and destroy buildings. They had shields that could stop bullets and missiles. The aliens inside were tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. But Jake noticed something important in the intelligence reports. The Zephyrians always attacked the same way. They would land their big ships near important buildings like government offices and military bases. Then they would send out troops in straight lines to take control. It was very organized but also very predictable. On the second day, President Claire Morrison spoke to the world. She stood at a podium with the American flag behind her. Her voice was strong and clear. My fellow Americans and citizens of Earth, we face a threat unlike any in human history. But we will not bow down to these invaders. We will fight with everything we have. We will show them that Earth is not just another planet to conquer. This is our home, and we will defend it. As the 72-hour deadline approached, something strange happened. The cities became quiet. People had evacuated to safe places in the countryside. Military bases looked empty. Even the government buildings seemed abandoned. But Jake knew the truth. Thousands of the world's best soldiers were hiding in places the aliens would never think to look. On the morning of the third day, the alien ships came down through the clouds. They were even bigger up close, casting huge shadows over major cities around the world. The lead ship landed in Washington, D.C., right on the National Mall. Others landed in New York, Los Angeles, London, Tokyo, and Moscow. Jake watched from a hidden position as alien soldiers came out of their ships. They moved in perfect formations, carrying weapons that glowed with blue energy. They seemed confident, almost bored. To them, this was just another easy conquest. Admiral Kethver, the Zephyrian commander, stood on the steps of the Capitol building and spoke into a device that made his voice heard around the world. Humans of Earth, your time is up. We see that your cities are empty and your leaders have run away. This proves you are a weak species. We will now take control of your planet. Do not resist, and you will be allowed to live as our servants. But as the alien troops spread out through the empty streets, something felt wrong to them. The silence was too complete, the emptiness too perfect. It was like walking into a trap, but they could not see where the danger was coming from. Jake smiled as he watched through his binoculars. The aliens thought they had won already. They had no idea that Earth's most dangerous weapons were not missiles or tanks. They were the men and women who had spent years learning how to fight in shadows, how to appear and disappear like ghosts, and how to turn any place into a battlefield. The real war was about to begin, and the Zephyrians had no idea what they were really facing. The first alien died 3 hours after the ships landed. His name was unpronounceable to human ears, but he was a Zephyrian scout checking an empty office building in downtown Chicago. He never saw Sergeant Amy Rodriguez crawling through the air vents above him. One moment he was scanning the room with his energy detector. The next moment, a human blade was sliding between his ribs. Amy had been moving through the building's ventilation system for 2 hours, watching the alien patrol patterns. The Zephyrians moved like robots, always checking the same places in the same order. They never looked up. They never expected attack from above or below. In their previous conquests, enemies had always faced them directly. She dragged the alien's body into a storage closet and took his weapon. The energy rifle was lighter than she expected and seemed to respond to touch. Within minutes, she figured out how to fire it. The aliens had made their weapons simple to use, which was about to become their biggest mistake. Across the city, Navy SEAL Lieutenant Commander Ben Carter was having similar success. His team had spent the night moving through Chicago's sewer system, placing explosive charges under alien equipment. The Zephyrians had set up communication arrays and supply depots, but they had not thought to guard what was beneath them. When the first explosions went off, the aliens were confused. Their sensors showed no human forces nearby, yet their equipment was being destroyed. Admiral Kethver ordered his troops to search harder, but they could not find an enemy that moved through tunnels and abandoned buildings like water flowing around rocks. The pattern repeated in every major city. In New York, Army Rangers used the subway system to appear in different parts of Manhattan, strike at alien patrols, then disappear before reinforcements arrived. In Los Angeles, Green Berets turned the city's famous traffic tunnels into a network of hidden highways that let them move unseen across the sprawling metropolis. Captain Maya Singh was leading a British SAS team through the ruins of London when she made the discovery that would change everything. Her sniper rifle had jammed during a firefight, so she grabbed a pistol and fired at close range at a Zephyrian soldier. The bullet went right through the alien's energy shield and dropped him instantly. "The shields do not stop bullets," she whispered into her radio. "Repeat, their shields do not stop kinetic projectiles. They only work against energy weapons." This information spread through human forces like wildfire. The aliens had designed their defenses to fight other aliens who used energy weapons. They had never faced an enemy that still used gunpowder and metal bullets. Suddenly, every human soldier realized that their primitive weapons were actually advantages. Major Rick Stone was coordinating attacks in Washington, D.C. when the intelligence reached him. He immediately ordered his Delta Force teams to switch to conventional weapons and get as close to the aliens as possible. The results were devastating. Alien soldiers who had seemed invincible behind their glowing shields began falling to simple rifle shots and even crossbow bolts, but the real breakthrough came when humans started using blades. Sergeant Tony Garcia discovered this during a midnight raid on an alien supply depot. His knife slid through an alien shield like it was not even there. In close combat, human soldiers with combat knives and bayonets were cutting down aliens who had conquered 17 star systems. The psychological effect on the Zephyrians was immediate. Their military reports began using words that had never appeared in their language before: unpredictable, invisible, and impossible. Alien soldiers started requesting backup for simple patrol missions. Some refused to enter buildings alone. Dr. Kate Williams was working with a Delta Force unit when she realized something else important. The aliens' energy weapons were designed for long-range combat in open spaces. In the tight confines of human cities with their narrow streets and tall buildings, the Zephyrian weapons were actually less effective than human firearms. The aliens tried to adapt by bringing in heavier weapons and more troops, but this only made things worse. Their large ships and vehicles could not navigate the narrow streets and underground passages where humans were fighting. Every attempt to use overwhelming firepower only created more hiding places in the rubble. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Bell was running intelligence operations from a hidden command center in the Rocky Mountains. Her job was to coordinate information between all the human forces fighting around the world. What she saw in the reports amazed even her. "They are fighting us like we are other aliens," she told General Park during a secure communication. "They send troops in straight lines. They attack only military targets. They expect us to mass our forces and fight them in big battles. They have no idea how to handle an enemy that refuses to follow their rules." The reports from the field confirmed this. Alien forces would surround a government building, expecting to find human leaders inside. Instead, they found empty rooms and booby traps. They would attack airports and military bases, only to discover that humans had moved all important equipment to locations the aliens did not know existed. By the end of the first week, Zephyrian casualty reports were reaching levels that shocked their high command. They had expected to lose perhaps a dozen soldiers in the entire conquest of Earth. Instead, they were losing hundreds every day to an enemy they could barely see. The aliens began changing their tactics, but every adjustment they made seemed to make things worse. When they started traveling in larger groups, human snipers picked them off from long distance. When they tried to secure buildings by posting guards, human infiltrators found ways to eliminate the guards silently. When they attempted to control the streets with patrols, humans attacked from rooftops, sewers, and abandoned vehicles. Staff Sergeant Nina Foster was leading a reconnaissance mission in Boston when she witnessed something that would have seemed impossible a month earlier. A squad of 12 Zephyrian soldiers, armed with advanced energy weapons and protected by personal shields, was retreating from 6 human fighters armed with nothing but rifles and determination. The aliens were afraid, and they had every reason to be. In 7 days of fighting, they had learned that conquering Earth was nothing like conquering other worlds. The humans did not fight like any species they had encountered before. They turned every building into a fortress, every tunnel into an ambush site, and every shadow into a potential threat. Admiral Kethfer was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. His forces were designed to fight conventional wars against conventional enemies. But Earth's defenders were something else entirely. They were warriors who had spent thousands of years learning how to win when outnumbered and outgunned. The humans were teaching the Zephyrian Empire a lesson that 17 conquered worlds had failed to provide. Technology means nothing if you do not know how to use it against an enemy who refuses to fight the way you expect them to. 3 weeks into the invasion, something remarkable was happening in the hidden workshops scattered across Earth. Human engineers and scientists were working alongside Special Forces soldiers taken apart alien weapons and equipment with the focused intensity of children opening presents on Christmas morning. Dr. Kate Williams had barely slept since the fighting began. Her small team of physicists and engineers had set up their laboratory in an abandoned subway station beneath New York City. The concrete walls were covered with diagrams showing how Zephyrian energy weapons worked, how their shields functioned, and most importantly, how humans could copy or defeat these technologies. "The power source is incredible," she explained to Major Rick Stone as she held up a glowing crystal taken from a destroyed alien vehicle. "This single crystal contains more energy than a nuclear power plant, but it is completely stable. If we can figure out how to use these, we can power electromagnetic pulse weapons that will shut down their equipment from a distance," Rick nodded as he cleaned his rifle. Like most Special Forces soldiers, he was practical about technology. If it helped him complete his mission and keep his team alive, he wanted it. If it was too complicated to use in combat, he did not care how advanced it was. "How long until we can build something useful?" he asked. Kate smiled. "We already have. Show him, Danny." Technical Sergeant Dan Murphy had been an electronics specialist before the aliens arrived. Now he was something new, a human who understood alien technology better than some aliens did. He picked up what looked like a modified human radio and flipped a switch. Every piece of Zephyrian equipment in the room immediately shut down. "Electromagnetic pulse generator," Danny explained. "Built using their own power crystals. Range of about 200 meters. We can make them small enough for individual soldiers to carry or big enough to shut down an entire alien base." This kind of innovation was happening everywhere humans were fighting. Captain Jake Harrison's Green Beret unit had discovered that alien armor was designed to stop energy weapons, but was vulnerable to certain types of human explosives. They had developed new grenades that could punch through Zephyrian defenses. Like paper, Navy SEAL Commander Kyle Brooks had found something even more interesting. Alien vehicles used a form of magnetic levitation to float above the ground. His team learned that simple metal cables stretched across roads at the right height could bring down alien transports, causing crashes that destroyed millions of dollars worth of advanced technology. But the biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Corporal Sofia Martinez was a communications specialist who had been studying intercepted alien radio transmissions. She spoke 4 human languages fluently, and her ear for patterns helped her crack the Zephyrian communication codes faster than any computer. "Their whole military works like a pyramid," she explained to Colonel Alex Chun during a briefing in the Hidden Command Center. "Every soldier reports to a squad leader. Every squad leader reports to a unit commander. Every unit commander reports to a ship captain. If you can cut the communications between levels, their entire force becomes confused and helpless." This intelligence led to a series of coordinated attacks that targeted alien communication networks. Human Special Forces teams began focusing on destroying communication arrays, jamming signals, and eliminating key alien officers. The effect was immediate and devastating. Zephyrian forces that had operated with mechanical precision began making mistakes. Orders were not getting through. Reinforcements arrived at the wrong locations. Supply convoys got lost. Entire alien units would spend hours waiting for instructions that never came. Captain Eric Johnson was leading a Delta Force raid on an alien command post when he witnessed the chaos firsthand. Through his night vision scope, he watched alien soldiers standing around their disabled vehicles, clearly arguing about what to do next. Without their communication network, they were like a body whose brain had been disconnected from its limbs. The raid was a complete success. Johnson's team eliminated the command post and captured valuable intelligence. But more importantly, they proved that alien military doctrine had a fatal weakness. The Zephyrians had become so dependent on their technology and hierarchy that they had forgotten how to think for themselves. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was experiencing this from the ground level. Her reconnaissance missions showed alien patrols becoming more cautious and less effective. Alien soldiers who had once moved with confidence now jumped at shadows. They traveled in larger groups, which made them easier targets for human ambush. They avoided areas where humans might be hiding, which gave human forces more freedom to move and operate. "They are scared," she reported to her commanding officer. "These aliens conquered 17 worlds, but they have never fought anyone who fights back the way we do. They do not know how to handle an enemy that does not follow their rules." The psychological warfare was just as important as the physical. Fighting. Human forces began leaving messages for aliens to find, written in the Zephyrian language that human linguists had decoded. The messages were simple but effective. "You are not safe anywhere. We are watching you. Go home while you still can." Staff Sergeant Tony Garcia's team had perfected what they called ghost protocols. They would attack alien positions, eliminate several soldiers, and then disappear without taking any equipment or leaving any obvious traces. The goal was not just to reduce alien numbers, but to make them feel like they were fighting supernatural enemies. The effect on alien morale was devastating. Intercepted communications showed Zephyrian soldiers using terms like shadow demons and impossible warriors when describing human fighters. Some alien units were requesting transfer off Earth, claiming that humans possessed abilities beyond normal understanding, but humans were not just fighting better. They were learning faster than their enemies. Every captured alien weapon was studied and copied. Every alien tactical manual was translated and distributed to human forces. Every weakness in alien equipment was identified and exploited. Master. Sergeant Nina Foster had started the war as an infantry soldier. 3 weeks later, she was an expert in alien technology, fluent in basic Zephyrian language, and capable of operating captured alien vehicles better than some aliens could. This rapid adaptation was happening throughout human forces. The aliens, meanwhile, seemed incapable of similar flexibility. Their military training was rigid and focused on overwhelming technological superiority. When that advantage was neutralized, they had no backup plan. Admiral Kethver was learning this the hard way. His forces had been designed to fight conventional wars against species that would mass their armies for traditional battles. Instead, he found himself fighting an enemy that treated every building, tunnel, and forest as a potential battlefield. Every human seemed to be a soldier, and every soldier seemed to be capable of appearing anywhere at any time, the reports reaching Zephyrian High Command were unprecedented. Not only were their forces taking heavy casualties, but they were being outfought by a species they had considered primitive. Human adaptability and ingenuity were proving more valuable than all the advanced technology in the galaxy. Dr. Williams summed it up perfectly during a meeting with military commanders. They brought superior weapons to fight an inferior enemy. But they forgot that weapons do not win wars, warriors do. And Earth has been producing warriors for thousands of years. By the 3rd month of occupation, Admiral Kethver had stopped sleeping well. The daily casualty reports from Earth showed numbers that made no sense according to everything the Zephyrian Empire knew about warfare. His forces had superior weapons, better armor, and advanced technology, yet they were losing soldiers at a rate of nearly 100 per day to an enemy that should have been defeated in hours. The problem was not just the losses, it was how the losses were happening. Zephyrian soldiers were disappearing from secure areas. Patrols were being eliminated without any sign of struggle. Equipment was being sabotaged in ways that suggested the humans had learned alien technology better than the aliens themselves understood it. Captain Don Murphy had become something that did not exist in any military manual, a human expert in alien psychology. His Force Reconnaissance Unit had been studying Zephyrian behavior patterns for weeks, and what they discovered was both surprising and useful. "They think like computers," Murphy explained to his team as they prepared for another night operation. "Everything is logical and predictable. They cannot understand why we do things that seem crazy but work anyway. When we do something unexpected, it takes them hours to figure out how to respond." This insight led to the development of what human forces called chaos tactics. Instead of following logical military procedures, human units began doing things that made no sense to alien observers but achieved their objectives anyway. Sergeant Ben Carter's SEAL team demonstrated this perfectly during a raid on an alien supply depot in Miami. Instead of attacking at night like any sensible military unit would do, they attacked at noon when alien forces were at full strength. Instead of using stealth, they announced their presence with explosions and loud music. Instead of trying to capture the depot, they destroyed it completely and left graffiti. Messages in Zephyrian language. The aliens were so confused by this approach that they spent 3 days analyzing the attack, trying to understand the strategic purpose behind what seemed like pure madness. They never figured out that the real purpose was to make them waste time and resources on analysis instead of military operations. Colonel Steve Adams had been studying alien communication intercepts and noticed something disturbing in their reports. Zephyrian soldiers were using words that did not exist in their military vocabulary. They described human fighters as ghosts, demons, and impossible beings. Some reports claimed that humans could teleport, become invisible, or predict the future. They are losing their minds, Adams reported to General Park. Their whole society is based on logic and technology. When they encounter something they cannot explain logically, they start believing in magic. We are not just fighting their bodies, we are breaking their minds. This psychological warfare was happening at every level. Master Sergeant Nina Foster had developed a technique she called nightmare operations. Her team would infiltrate alien bases at night, rearrange equipment without damaging it, leave personal items from dead aliens in impossible locations, and plant devices that would make strange noises at random times. The effect was devastating. Aliens would wake up to find their weapons had been disassembled and reassembled in perfect condition but in different locations. They would discover photographs of their home worlds placed where no human should have been able to go. They would hear the voices of dead comrades coming from their own communication equipment. Lieutenant Colonel Rachel Bell was coordinating intelligence from around the world when she noticed a pattern that worried the alien command structure. Human forces were not just randomly attacking. They were systematically destroying the Zephyrian Empire's ability to function as a military organization. Communication networks were being targeted with precision that suggested humans understood alien command structure better than some aliens did. Supply lines were being disrupted in ways that created maximum chaos with minimum effort. Key personnel were being eliminated in order of importance, starting with the most critical and working down. They think we are fighting like animals? Bell explained during a briefing. But we are actually fighting like surgeons. Every cut is precise and designed to cause maximum damage to their ability to operate as an organized force. Captain Maya Singh had taken this surgical approach to its logical conclusion. Her SAS team had infiltrated the main Zephyrian command ship by posing as alien technicians. They had spent 2 weeks learning alien procedures, memorizing security protocols, and even practicing alien body language. The infiltration was successful beyond their wildest hopes. Not only did they gain access to critical intelligence about alien plans and weaknesses, but they planted surveillance devices that gave human forces real-time information about every major alien operation. We know what they are going to do before they do it, Singh reported after her team's extraction. Their security is designed to keep aliens out, not humans who think differently. We can go anywhere in their ships because they cannot imagine that anyone would be crazy enough to try. This intelligence advantage led to a series of devastating defeats for alien forces. Human attacks began arriving at exactly the right time and place to cause maximum damage. Alien reinforcements found their target areas already cleared of human forces. Supply convoys were ambushed at the most vulnerable points of their routes. Staff Sergeant Tony Garcia was leading a joint operation with International Special Forces when he realized that the war had fundamentally changed. Instead of humans adapting to fight aliens, the aliens were trying to adapt to fight humans, and they were failing badly. Look at their new tactics, he told his multinational team as they studied recent alien behavior. They are traveling in smaller groups because they learned large groups are easier targets. They are checking above and below because we taught them to look in all directions. They are using human-style camouflage because they learned that standing out makes them easy to spot. The problem was that aliens were naturally bad at human-style fighting. Their bodies were not designed for crawling through tight spaces. Their minds were not trained for independent thinking. Their equipment was not built for stealth operations. Every attempt to copy human tactics made them less effective than they had been originally. Major Rick Stone was observing this phenomenon during urban combat operations in Los Angeles. Alien forces that had once moved with mechanical precision were now hesitant and uncertain. They second-guessed their own decisions. They waited for orders that often never came. They jumped at sounds that turned out to be nothing. "They are fighting scared," Stone reported. "When you fight scared, you make mistakes. When you make mistakes against special forces, you die. It is that simple." The casualty ratios were proving his point. Human losses were decreasing as soldiers gained experience and better equipment. Alien losses were increasing as their morale collapsed and their tactics became less effective. Some Zephyrian units had lost more than half their personnel and were no longer capable of meaningful military operations. Dr. Kate Williams had continued her analysis of captured alien technology and made a discovery that explained much of their vulnerability. Zephyrian military equipment was designed to work perfectly under ideal conditions, but it had no backup systems for when things went wrong. "Human equipment is built to keep working even when damaged," she explained to military commanders. "Alien equipment is built to work perfectly or not at all. When we damage their systems even slightly, everything stops working. They have no experience with making broken things work anyway, which is something humans have been doing for thousands of years." This insight led to a new focus on damaging rather than destroying alien equipment. Partially disabled alien vehicles and weapons could not be used effectively, but they also could not be easily replaced. This created a growing pile of useless equipment that drained alien resources without providing any benefit. Captain Eric Johnson summed up the situation perfectly in his mission report. "We have taught them to fear the dark, to question their orders, and to doubt their technology. They came here as conquerors, but somewhere along the way, they became the prey, and we became the hunters. The question now is not whether we can defeat them, but how long it will take them to realize they have already lost." The end began with Admiral Kethvar's greatest mistake. Frustrated by months of impossible losses and facing pressure from the Zephyrian High Command, he decided to use the one advantage he thought humans could not counter: orbital bombardment. If ground forces could not defeat Earth's defenders, he would simply destroy Earth's major cities from space. Colonel Alex Chun had been waiting for this moment. Working with international intelligence services and captured alien technology, she had spent weeks preparing for exactly this scenario. Hidden in underground bunkers around the world were electromagnetic pulse satellites that had been reverse-engineered from Zephyrian power systems and launched using modified human rockets. The satellites were invisible to alien sensors because they were built using the aliens' own stealth technology, improved by human engineering that focused on practical effectiveness rather than theoretical perfection. Each satellite carried enough power to disable alien shields and weapons across entire continents. When Kethvar gave the order to begin orbital bombardment, he expected to see human cities turn to ash within minutes. Instead, every Zephyrian ship in Earth's orbit went dark simultaneously. Their weapons stopped working, their shields collapsed, their engines shut down. In 30 seconds, the most advanced space fleet in the galaxy became a collection of floating metal objects with no power. The counterattack that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Every Special Forces unit on Earth launched simultaneous operations against Zephyrian positions using 4 months of accumulated intelligence, captured technology, and tactical innovations that had been tested in hundreds of small battles. Navy SEAL Commander Kyle Brooks led underwater assault teams against alien installations built on floating platforms. Using breathing apparatus modified with alien life support technology, his teams could stay underwater for hours, approaching targets that aliens never expected to be vulnerable to attack from below. Army Ranger Captain Sofia Martinez coordinated Mountain warfare operations that trapped alien forces in terrain they had never learned to navigate. Her teams used alien hover technology to move quickly across impossible landscapes, then disappeared into cave systems that alien sensors could not penetrate, but the most spectacular operation was led by Captain Eric Johnson's Delta Force team. Their mission was to capture Admiral Kethver himself, alive, from the heavily defended command ship that orbited Earth. Johnson's team used a combination of captured alien shuttlecraft and human piloting skills to approach the command ship. The aliens never suspected that humans had learned to fly their vehicles better than they could. Human pilots, trained to handle mechanical failures and unexpected situations, were far more adaptable than Zephyrian pilots who had always relied on automated systems. The boarding operation was a masterpiece of controlled chaos. Johnson's team entered the alien ship through maintenance hatches that the aliens had forgotten existed. They moved through ventilation systems that were designed for automated cleaning robots, not security. They used the ship's own communication system to send false orders that scattered the alien crew throughout the massive vessel. When they reached the command center, they found Kethver surrounded by his senior officers, all of them staring at displays that showed the systematic destruction of their forces across Earth. The Admiral was so focused on trying to understand how his technologically superior fleet was being defeated by primitive humans that he never noticed the 6 human soldiers who had appeared behind him. "Admiral Kethver, you are now a prisoner of Earth's military forces," Johnson said in perfect Zephyrian language. "Order your forces to stand down immediately, or we will demonstrate more human innovations in warfare." The capture of their supreme commander broke what remained of Zephyrian morale. Across Earth, alien forces began surrendering in groups rather than face continued combat against enemies who seemed capable of appearing anywhere and defeating any defense. But the most devastating blow to alien confidence came from the intelligence analysis that Dr. Kate Williams had prepared for the surrender negotiations. Her team had spent months studying every aspect of Zephyrian military doctrine, technology, and psychology. What they discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. The Zephyrian Empire has conquered 17 star systems, Williams explained to the alien delegation during surrender talks, but they have never actually fought a war. Every species they encountered either surrendered immediately when they saw superior technology or fought conventional battles that their weapons easily won. They have no experience with asymmetrical warfare, no understanding of psychological operations, and no ability to adapt when their standard tactics fail. She gestured to charts showing comparative casualty figures. In 4 months of fighting, Earth's special forces have eliminated over 40% of your invasion force, while losing less than 3% of our own personnel. Your military doctrine is designed for intimidation, not actual combat against determined resistance. The alien negotiators sat in stunned silence as Williams continued her analysis. More importantly, you have never fought an enemy that improved during combat. Every human engagement with your forces has been more effective than the last. Every captured piece of your technology has been studied, copied, and improved. Every tactical weakness you have shown has been exploited in subsequent operations. Lieutenant General Lisa Park took over the briefing at this point. "Admiral Kethver, your empire made a fundamental error in judgment. You assumed that technological superiority equals military superiority. You never considered that the most advanced weapons in the galaxy are useless if you do not know how to use them against an enemy that refuses to fight the way you expect." The surrender terms were simple but comprehensive. All Zephyrian forces would withdraw from Earth's solar system immediately. All captured human personnel and equipment would be returned. Most importantly, the Zephyrian Empire would share its star charts and communication protocols with Earth, allowing human forces to contact other species that had been conquered by the aliens. "Why do you want to contact other conquered worlds?" Kethver asked through his translator. Park smiled grimly. "Because Earth's special forces are very good teachers, Admiral. And there are probably millions of beings throughout the galaxy who would like to learn what we have learned about fighting technologically superior enemies. The implications of this statement sent shockwaves through the Zephyrian delegation. They had not just lost one planet. They had potentially armed every species they had ever conquered with the knowledge and tactics needed to overthrow alien rule. As the Zephyrian ships prepared to leave Earth's orbit, Captain Jake Harrison stood on a mountain in Colorado, not far from where he had first heard the alien surrender demand 4 months earlier. His Green Beret unit was intact, veteran now of dozens of operations that had seemed impossible when the war began. "Sir, do you think they will be back?" Sergeant Amy Rodriguez asked. Jake looked up at the alien ships disappearing into the darkness of space. "No, Rodriguez, they will not be back. But more importantly, word is going to spread throughout the galaxy about what happened here. Every species the Zephyrians conquered is going to hear that a primitive world defeated the mighty empire using nothing but determination and tactical innovation." He paused, thinking about the intelligence reports that had been declassified. After the surrender, the Zephyrian Empire controlled hundreds of worlds and trillions of beings, all of whom had been told that resistance was impossible against superior alien technology. "The galaxy is about to learn something that humans have known for thousands of years," Jake continued. "Technology can give you an advantage, but it cannot give you courage, creativity, or the will to fight for your freedom. Those things have to come from inside." Staff Sergeant Tony Garcia was leading the final cleanup operations in Washington, D.C., when he received word that the last Zephyrian transport had left Earth's atmosphere. His team had spent the day cataloging captured alien equipment and preparing intelligence summaries for distribution to human military units worldwide. "Sergeant, what do you think was the biggest factor in our victory?" asked Corporal Ben Carter as they loaded captured alien weapons into transport vehicles. Garcia thought for a moment. "The aliens expected us to fight like every other species they had conquered. They expected massed armies, conventional tactics, and predictable responses to superior firepower. Instead, they got special forces operators who had spent years learning how to win when outnumbered and outgunned." He picked up an alien energy rifle and examined it carefully. "But the real secret was adaptation. Every time they changed their tactics, we changed ours faster. Every time they improved their defenses, we found new ways to attack. They were fighting the war they wanted to fight. We were fighting the war we needed to fight." The final intelligence summary prepared by Dr. Kate Williams and her team became required reading at military academies throughout the world. Her analysis of the Zephyrian defeat was both comprehensive and sobering. The Zephyrian Empire fell into the classic trap of believing that superior technology automatically equals superior military capability, she wrote. They never developed the flexibility, creativity, individual initiative that characterize